some of the events from last night. Now, usually this show is done on a Tuesday with the updated rankings card, but unfortunately, I've got to get a plane and I'm going to be away for 3 days, so I decided to give it to you a little bit earlier. We're going to be talking about Islam Makhachev's title challenge, his next bout at 155. We're going to talk about the possible outcome between Oliveira and Dariush. We're going to talk about where in the world should Volkanovski fight next, and Yair Rodriguez's chances against him. Shout out to Modestus Bukauskas. He, on the prelims, he was the first guy to show up on our channel and do a Q&A. So we got to pay respects for him. He defeated Tyson Pedro on the prelims by unanimous decision. Pretty impressive stuff for him. He's on Cloud9 right now, and I cannot wait to see him fight again. And hopefully it's going to be in London at UFC 286. So fingers crossed for him as well. Welcome on in. Yes, there was a problem with the stream a second ago on the last one. That was because the spacebar decided to just stop it for us. But we're still here. Hopefully I'm going to get the chats going in a sec, so you guys can catch up with us. But it's going to be interesting to get your guys' thoughts on what's next for both these guys. Okay, we got Damo straight away already. Oh, hang on. It's not come up for me. It's not come up on that screen. That's a bit weird. But he says, Islam landed 4 clean shots on the feet and 1 head kick. The rest of the fight, he was backing up. And when he managed a takedown, he did nothing but struggle to keep Volk down. Yeah, I know. I guess, you know, it's almost a question, really, isn't it? Ground control doesn't really add to anything. He was threatening this submission attempt at a couple of times. He did get the back mount, which is the most significant position, of course, on the ground, and was kind of a threat in that area for a lot of the time. It is quite a dicey one. It depends however you look at it, really. I think striking and grappling have both got to be treated as equals. It's something that's always going to be on people's minds and people's opinions. You know, is what counts more in these scenarios. So I thought it was pretty difficult going into the third round. I felt Volk decisively won the third round. I thought that second round was all up in the air and a little bit difficult to score. But nonetheless, we've still got to go on. Of course, we're going to recap some of those events. We're going to be talking about what's next and Yair Rodriguez's chances. So it's going to be interesting to get your guys' opinions on that, because does he pose a bit of a threat for Volkanovski? It's going to be interesting to see where you guys place him in terms of Volk's top opponents. Now, of course, we did have. We had who was it now? We had he did lose to Max, but then Max didn't really manage to do much against Volk. So technically, MMA Maths says that we should see a Volk win in that one. But we're also going to talk about what it could look like, you know, in that fight, and some of those threats that Volk does possess. I don't know why my chats aren't working. It's really annoying. Oh, there we go. Yay! We got it. Okay, super. Ash says, I agree, but you have to give it to Islam striking. Yes, it's far better than what we thought it was going to do. We'll get to your chats in just a sec, Damo. Because we didn't really get to catch up last night. What was you doing, Damo? Was you asleep? Was you out partying? Let us know. It'd be interesting to get your opinions of where you were as well. Let's recap then some of these fights then. Of course, that's the wrong one. It's a ranking squad. So, of course, first up on the main card, we had Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield, ended in a majority draw. For me, this fight, Jimmy Crute, I wanted to see better from him. I wanted to see more from him. And yeah, he had Alonzo in some trouble on the ground. Definitely won the grappling exchanges. But Alonzo just looked like an animal on the feet, you know? He was tagging Crute a lot of the times and caught him with some really good shots. It was the fence grab which led to Alonzo Menifield getting the point deduction, and that's kind of the story of the fight. Really, two of those judges scoring at 28-28 in the end. So it's a bit of a shame for Menifield because I thought he looked good. And when it comes to talking about what's next for him, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what the UFC do with him, because you've got, you know, in their eyes, are they going to see it perhaps as he should have won that fight? You know, are they going to give him better competition? Who are they going to give Jimmy Crute? Because Jimmy Crute's on a little bit of a slippery slide. I think before that draw, was on a 2-fight losing streak. Menifield was on a winning streak. So I think if I look at Menifield, his streak, it was, so he's like, bar that draw, before this fight coming in, he was only one loss in his last 5, which is pretty decent. So I think the UFC will probably look at that and give him a better opponent, potentially. Is it going to be a ranked opponent? That's the question. Are they going to put Menifield in the rankings after this fight? I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I'm predicting that I don't think they will. What do you reckon? Would you put Menifield in the rankings? Would you put him just below Jimmy Crute, perhaps, or just above Jimmy Crute? I can't see it personally. But if we go into the rankings of this, then so that's how it looks at the moment. Yes, I'm gonna look. It looks like I'm looking the wrong way, but that's just the way we got things set up today. So yeah, the only person ranked is Jimmy Crute. But what's next for both guys? Welcome on in, guys. If you're joining us, we can get into these fight predictions for what's next. Damien says a Dagestani getting a takedown is scored more than a knockdown. Maybe you could make that argument, perhaps. Yes, it's what you do with the takedown, of course. That is vital. But then in Perth, Australia, you would have thought they would have given it to Volk, really, being under all that pressure. Funny, really. It's weird. Yes, find us, keepers. Welcome in, buddy. Poirier, he already got 2 shots. Should not be talked about for a title unless he puts 3 wins together, especially as he didn't want the Menifield fight. Look, I can argue. We'll get into that in just a second. Do stick around, of course. We're going to talk about the rest of the guys on the card and what's next for them. But I think there is a gate there for Dustin Poirier, I think, you know, at the top of that division. And it's going to depend on some results, okay? So we're going to get into that in just a sec, so do hold on to that. But what would you like to see next from Alonzo Menifield then? What did you make of his performance? Because personally, I probably wouldn't give him a ranked guy, okay? There's a lot of fights to be played out at the bottom part of that light heavyweight division. You know, when you look at it, we've got, for instance, people have booked. We've got Span and Krylov fighting in a few weeks. We've got Khalil Roundtree, who's yet to be booked, but I think he's probably going to be due a fight soon. We've got Dustin Jacoby. He's fighting Azmat Mazarakarov. I think I've bollocks that name up, but those two are doing battle at the bottom there. So, you know, they're busy. So my opinions for Alonzo Menifield then, I mean, he could very well get the winner of that fight. You never know. It's a possibility. But I've not got that in my list. What I would like to see from Menifield, I'd like to see him fight Kennedy Nzechukwu, actually. You know, he's coming off of a win against Ion Cutelaba. He looked great in that fight. The ultimate issue there with Menifield, I think he might have a problem with the size of Nzechukwu. The ultimate question is, whose cardio is going to be better in that fight? I think that's what it's going to come down to, especially with those grappling scenarios. I think, in a way, Cutelaba's got a similar kind of skill set to Menifield. You know, of course, I think Cutelaba hits harder than Menifield, but both guys like to wrestle. Both guys like to hit hard, and they like to use a lot of ground and pound. So Nzechukwu, I think he just needs to copy and paste that previous blueprint against Menifield. But Menifield, I think, might be a little bit more relentless than Cutelaba was, you know? So I think it's going to be an intriguing kind of style matchup. I don't know what you guys think of it. Ash says, Reyes versus Alonzo. Ha 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 ha. Well, it's funny you should say that, actually. I've got Reyes on my list, but not for Menifield. Angus says, I reckon they run it back. maybe down the line. I don't think the UFC will do it straight away. They don't normally do that. KO all day, says Ash in that one. Yeah, well, personally, for Jimmy Crute, I've actually got Dominic Reyes. And I think that fight kind of makes a lot of sense because Reyes is on a bit of a bad run at the moment, He's getting KO'd by heavy hitters. Now, Crute is capable of landing the shot against Reyes and putting him out. Absolutely. I reckon he can. However, I would still give the striking edge to Dominic Reyes in that fight. And that's purely because, it's something we mentioned in the watch-along last night. With Jimmy Crute, we're seeing a very sort of tentative Crute on the feet. He doesn't move his head as much when he's striking. He's getting picked apart quite often. And I think Reyes might be able to use his size a little bit to his advantage in that, I guess the ultimate question is, one, can Crute get Dominic Reyes down and can he be effective on the floor? Absolutely. Because, there was some shades of his grappling against Anthony Smith, and Anthony Smith's got pretty good grappling himself. So, Jimmy Crute was winning some of those exchanges. Against Dominic Reyes, would we see the same kind of story? That's the ultimate question. So that's the reason why I've got that matchup in. Smash a like on the video if you like that matchup, of course. And if you're just joining us, yes, TY, welcome in, buddy. Thanks for joining us. I think they'll give Crute another unranked guy. Yeah, you could say that. You could very well say that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that as well. I mean, I don't know. Who would you reckon you'd want to give Crute? I think it would make a lot of sense. I wouldn't mind that. I'm trying to pick some names out here. I should have picked an unranked guy, I guess. But he has had some good wins. That's the problem with Jimmy Crute. He's beaten Modestas Bukauskas, who I just mentioned a second ago. He's beaten Paul Craig. He's fought some really good guys. So is he done with ranked guys at the moment? It's hard to tell. It's hard to say. Honestly, I guess I wouldn't mind seeing him against like an Ion Kutalaba or a Kennedy Nzechukwu. Who knows? Say he's beaten Mikhail Olashejek as well. Just fallen unlucky. I mean, they weren't bad performances. The Anthony Smith performance wasn't too bad. Tyson Pedro then says, Ash, look, there you go. I think that's a good one. Crute against Pedro is a decent matchup. I like that fight. You could make an argument there that, of course, Pedro's just lost to Modestas Bukauskas, and Modestas lost against Jimmy Crute, of course. That's the argument there, I guess, for Jimmy Crute. But look, I want to see Crute take that step back and really get better. Oh, mate, yes, TY. There you go. You got it all there. You always hit it out of the park. Maybe Devin Clark, he says, but not sure who they'd give him. Yeah, I mean, look, Devin Clark looked pretty good in his last one. So Devin Clark versus Jimmy Crute would actually make a lot of sense. Is Devin Clark, after that performance, ready for a ranked guy again? Maybe. I can see it. I really can see it. So, who knows? Why is this buggered out a little bit? Bosh. All right, cool. Camera's back. Yeah, I think that's a good fight, but maybe you might favour Devin Clark in that one. I might favour Devin Clark in that one. Purely because I've been counting out Devin Clark for some time now, and he actually proved pretty well in his last performance, so I've got to give him that one. But yeah, solid picks, guys. Solid picks. Let's go into the next fight then, of course. Roll that back. Which was Justin Tafa picking up the win against Parker Porter. First round knockout. Mate, simples. Literally. We said in the watch along he's got one round potentially to get the job done, and he did exactly that. Because past the first round, we felt that Parker Porter could potentially take over. But, he did what he needed to do. Now, I've got a really exciting one for Justin Tafa. Okay, let me know if you really like this fight, because this one gives me goosebumps. It really does. But the ultimate question is, would they put it on a main card? Is it of a fight night? I'd like to see it on a main card of a fight night. Personally, I'd like to see this person fight on a main card. But this guy is a pay-per-view kind of guy, and he's a really good person to put in there for into the prelims, to get people to watch the prelims, because he's that damn exciting. And that person I'm talking about is Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett versus Justin Tafa. Now, Barnett's coming off of a second round TKO victory against Jake Collier, which I think is was a good finish. He's crazy athletic for the guy of his size, and he's always entertaining. So you put his kind of athleticism and the way he's able to mix things up against the power puncher in Justin Tafa, and you've got a hell of a fight right there. I don't know what you guys would reckon. I want to see fireworks. Tafa versus Chris Barnett, says Angus. See, look, Angus knows, mate. Good minds think alike. Proper stuff there. There you go. Pop a like on the video if you've not done so already, if you enjoy that fight, because I think that's a barn burner of a fight, and I've not got any other options. Angus says, haha, I promise I wrote that before you said it. No, mate. No, 100%. I wrote it all hours ago, mate. I've got all my picks lined up for next, and that was in there. But yeah, I think it's a fun one. As for Parker Porter, though, 12-8 now, pretty much on a slippery slope. The options I've got for him would be the loser of Jake Collier versus Martin Buday, and that fight's happening April 15th. So I reckon we will see someone like that. Actually love that one, says TY. Yes, TY. You know it makes sense. But where would you want to put it on? That's the ultimate question. Would you want to see it on a main card of a fight night, or would you like to see it on a prelims with a crowd at a pay-per-view event? You know, let us know in the chat. It's hard, man. It's hard to tell. Ash says Parker Porter versus Jake Collier. He boom KO'd. Oh, he booked. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Yeah, it'd be the loser, I reckon, if he loses against Martin Buday, and that'll be the question of that one. Yes, welcome in, Dawn Petit. I think I've said that right. It's really small on my screen, the chat bar, I'm afraid. But he reckons Volk won, and yeah, I see all of these comments, man. That Volk won. We're going to get into that in just a sec. So there's going to be a lot to get through. But yeah, thanks for your comment, my man. Don't forget to hit a like on the video, and of course subscribe as well if you're new to the channel, because this is a fan channel where fan opinions matter most. And look, there's a lot of opinions circling around after this event. That's for sure. Moving on then, okay, of course. Let's go to the third fight of the night. My man, my one to watch for 2023. Which, of course, was Jack Della Maddalena picking up the first round submission against Randy Brown. Who would have guessed? Who would have thought it? The Aussie, the boxer, picking up the submission. But I think it was a good move from Jack Della Maddalena. You know, he continues to rise in this on these welterweight ranks, and he talked about doubling up on his strikes on the same side in his post-fight press conference. You know, like the way he just rips to the body. With the same arm, and you know, he said he likes doing that, and it's not something that you see often in MMA. And it's good to see a boxer of his level competing. The submission, like I said, was surprising. I think it was the right move at the time. He was getting off some ground and pound, and it was good ground and pound, but you know, he didn't crack Brown, I think, hard enough to kind of completely put him out. You know, it was a flash knockout. Brown was doing quite well, I think, to try and prevent Jack from getting off those ground strikes. But the way he took the back and switched up his offense was nicely done. You know, it gave Brown something else to think about in that moment. You know, whereas some guys may have just kept raining down on the hammer fists and gas their arms out and let their opponent potentially recover. So it was a good move from Jack. You see in some MMA, what's the word? MMA logic to his game. Jake Marsh, welcome in, buddy. Welcome in. Welcome to the channel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you've not done so already. He says, do you think the pound for pound for Islam should wait until he has defended the belt against someone in his own weight class? Yeah, I'm seeing this a lot at the moment. That's a solid question, Jake. I do like that. Thank you. Yeah, you can make that argument, but this is what I was saying coming into the watch along. I think either outcome, you were going to get an excuse. If Volk won, we were going to get the excuse of, Islam didn't have Khabib in his corner. If Khabib was in his corner, we would have most certainly seen the best Islam Makhachev. And I said that if Islam wins, then we're going to see, well, Islam beat a smaller guy, he beat a 145er, whoopee-doo, it's not someone in his own weight class. But look, I see where you're coming from, absolutely, but I think the fact that Islam's been able to rack up this win streak as well, and beat Charles Oliveira, who obviously beat the likes of Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Now, of course, styles make fights, and I get that, If Islam fights those guys, it could be a different outcome. It can be a different story. Absolutely. But, with those wins that Oliveira was able to rack up, it put Oliveira so high up on the pedestal, And for Makhachev to come in there and beat him the way he did is a fair excuse, in my opinion. But look, we can debate this till the cows come home. But thanks for your opinion, Jake. Angus says, outside shot here. Jack Della should fight Vicente Luque. Now, that is one of my options. It's one of two options. I like that option. He did mention that in his post-fight press conference. And it's, because Luque's not booked at the moment. I think it was probably the first name that came to his head of someone who's not booked. It is somebody quite high up there. And if we go into the welterweight rankings, as we can see, Luque's in at number 9. So already, a fight against Luque, you beat Luque, you're in top 10 straight away. And then all of a sudden, my ones to watch. Well, look, man, we're making waves for Jackie Boy at the moment. I'm on the Jack Della Maddalena hype train right now. I'm driving it, mate. I am so driving it. And look, I was so stoked by that performance. And yeah, I'd like that one. The ultimate question is that fight too soon for Jack? And 2, is Luque not, is he going to get booked next? He's probably due a fight very soon against perhaps someone else. Because I think Luque is game as game as they come. He's willing to fight anybody. He risks his ranking against Jeff Neal. There was a massive gap between those guys, and he lost, and he paid the price for it. The ultimate question is he going to do it again? So my other option for Jack, and I said this in a previous, in the last Aftermath, actually. I said Brown versus Jack Della Maddalena, the winner gets Neil Magny. And I wouldn't be surprised, because Neil Magny is the perfect gatekeeper for top 15. I think it's a more winnable fight for Jack. I really do, because Neil Magny, on his day, he can be a killer. He's been known as someone who's been quite underrated in this welterweight division. However, I can see Jack catching him and putting him away. He's not getting any younger. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's difficult to tell. It really is. But say 13 would be not a bad jump for Jack to, perhaps later on down in the year, get a spot in the rankings with a win over Jeff Neal. Let us know what you think of that fight, guys. Let's catch up with some of the chats. Hey, guys, says James MMA. Missed the watch long again. Sorry, mate. James, where were you? We had an absolute ball of a party. We had a lot of people in the chats, and we got the whiskey out. We got the shoeies out, of course. It was a good event for it, man. Glad you missed it, but glad to see you as always in these, I should say, midweek shows. Technically, it's a midweek show, but we're doing it differently this time. Yes, James, 12 fight win streak, says Ash. Volk win streak was longer, says Jake. Fair point. Yep, and more title defenses. All for that. All for that. But then at the same time, it's, how could you not put a guy above him after a win? That's the whole thing. TY says, I like Michel Pereira or Luque. Yeah, I think Michel Pereira is currently booked at the moment, isn't he? If I remember rightly. Let's have a look down here. He's booked against... Who's he booked against? Actually... Oh, you might be right, because Sean Brady's just pulled out of that fight. He was booked to fight Sean Brady. It's a good fight. Yeah. Let's see if Jack Maddalena wants to step straight back in there against Michel Pereira, who's quite a bit of a big welterweight. Good test for Jack, I think. You know, the size, the unpredictability of Pereira. But I think Jack could probably wear him down. I really do. I think Pereira's got a tendency to gas and kind of throw a little bit too wild in there. James reckons Magny subs JDM. Sorry, mate. Look, I can see that. Like I said, Magny can be an absolute problem on his day. And yes, those long limbs of Magny are going to cause problems. And normally Magny's kryptonite is the heavy wrestlers, you know. Gilbert Burns, we saw it against Gilbert Burns. Excellent jiu-jitsu game, but he's very, very good wrestling as well. Jack doesn't have the wrestling, much of a wrestling background. So, yeah, the sub's there for Magny, and that's why that fight makes a lot of sense, because I can see Jack getting the knockout win there, or I can see Magny picking up the submission, like a Darce choke or something like that. Very doable. Yeah, thanks for your comment, James. Smashing stuff. Jake says, Justin Tafa versus Bam Bam, one-hit wonder fight. Look, who wouldn't say no? I mean, both guys are like miles apart in the rankings, but look, if you're going to bring a card back to Australia or New Zealand, that's the fight to make, really. Lovely stuff. Ash. James said, I saw Side didn't do one. Yeah, man. He didn't do a shoey because he's a Pumplex. That's what we were calling him last night. He was happily to do a shoey for UFC 280, but not this card for some random reason. Like it made a difference. I mean, once you do one shoey, surely your shoey dignity is just out the blue, right? You might as well just do one again, right? Hi, Truth Seeker. Yes, Truth Seeker. Thanks for joining us as always, man. Get your opinions on the main event, and of course, some of these fights that took place last night. Let us know, and don't forget to hit the like button on the video. Jake says Jack versus, I think he meant to say Jorge. Get Jorge out of the top 15 once and for all. Shouldn't even be there ever. Wow, we've got a Masvidal hater in the house. Jake, that's okay. Good opinion, my man. Yeah, it looks like they're going to do Masvidal against Burns, isn't it? You know, again, Masvidal might get another shot at someone high up in the rankings just for no reason. You know, just because he brings eyeballs to the octagon. So but what can you do? What can you do? No excuse there, of course. Let's see who's next for Randy Brown then. Who are we going to give Randy Brown, of course? I've got two options for him. I think Ash is going to like one of them, but my first one is Muslim Salikov. He's coming off of a win against Andre Fiallo, just outside the rankings as well, but he could be due a fight soon. So, you know, I'm wondering whether that's the option or not. It depends what his circumstances are, of course. And then my second option could also get paired up against Muslim Salikov, but I've got him in there for Randy Brown, and that's actually Matt Semmelsberger. Yes, he's been on the channel before. He's probably due a fight soon, and he's coming off a win against Jake Matthews. So do we see Randy Brown against Semmelsberger? To be honest, I think Semmelsberger might want to use his wrestling against Randy Brown in that fight. I think he might struggle with the range against Randy Brown because it looked like he struggled against the range a little bit against Alex Morono. So that's an intriguing fight. But look, he looked phenomenal against Jake Matthews. Massive respect to Semmelsberger. Now, Ash, who's in the chats there, has played Call of Duty with Semmelsberger a couple of times. So hopefully he's going to clip this little segment up and maybe send it to him or speak to him on Xbox later on. I will DM him, he says. There you go. Like, you know, I'm just putting it out there. Randy Brown could be an option, or Muslim Salikov for Semmelsberger. So there's a bit of a triangle there. Either one of those fights are going to get made, and that's my general opinion on that. But I think we've got to move swiftly on then. So, don't forget to smash a like on the video if you've liked these picks, of course, because I think there's some solid ones that could potentially happen. We like to be Mystic Mac over here on this channel, so we do our best to try and predict the next upcoming fights. Jake says, what fight year matchups would you be looking forward to this year? Ooh. fight of the year kind of candidates. Well, of course, Chandler versus McGregor is probably going to happen towards the back end of the year. So that could be fight of the year. Because look, Chandler's always in a fight of the year candidate because he's so entertaining. But can Chandler put Conor out, and can Conor put Chandler out? That's the ultimate question at the moment. So I think Masvidal versus Burns could be a really good fight if Burns just doesn't go out there and sub him straight away. But at the same time, I can very much see that happening. Jones versus Gane, I think it's probably not going to be the most exciting fight when it happens, but I think it will be a very technical bout. It's going to have us on the edge of our seats. It's going to have us nerve-wracking. Hopefully we see Cejudo versus Sterling at some point later on down the year. I can see that being a hell of a firefight. And I can even see Volkanovski versus Rodríguez being a very good fight as well, should that get made at some point this year. Do stay tuned. We're going to get some more opinions on that in just a sec. Because we're going to recap that fight, of course, against Josh Emmett. So look, yeah, I mean, there's so many to be made. There honestly is. I think Gaethje. Ooh, what happened there? Oh, my laptop's just gone funny. We're still live though. I don't know why my laptop's gone funny. We're all out. Well, it looks like we're rolling it from here then. Yeah, so Gaethje versus Fiziev, I think, is going to be a barn burner of a fight. And to be honest, I think it could be fight of the year candidate. It's going to be in London as well. Why wouldn't it be with that London crowd? So there's that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Gaethje versus Poirier run it back as well later on down the line. I really do. But thanks for your chats, guys. I will get them up in just a second. For some reason, my laptop has just decided to conk itself out. Don't know why. But yeah, thanks for joining in as always, guys. My next option then thanks for your comment, of course, as well. We'll get back on to then the next fight up in the co-main event. There we go. I'll log this back in. I don't know why this kind of went. Apologies, guys. These are technical difficulties you just randomly have on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? You know where just Sunday, you just want a day of rest. Well, my laptop's just decided, you know what, it's a Sunday, JK. You put me at work every single day of this week running your channel. So I'm just going to decide to have a sleep on you. But look, Yair Rodriguez, man, let's talk about Yair for a second, because I said in this fight coming in, I just didn't feel that he was ready to be a champion. But he looked phenomenal. You know, he's really matured as a mixed martial artist. He's no longer this kind of like throw with a lot of emotion kind of guy. You know? I really liked his performance. I think it was good. He shut off a very powerful Josh Emmett, who I thought I had picking, winning the fight in the end. I thought he was going to catch Yair coming in or something when Yair is just flying a flying double knee or some sort. But no, man, like insane stuff. Insane. Right, okay, I'm just going to get these chats back up. There we go. I don't know if it still work. Yes, it does. Look at that. We're back on form. Look at that. Ash says, I said it, the kicks would be trouble. And yeah, man, it's true. And look, I made my prediction before I actually did tape on this fight. And after I did tape, I started to second guess myself because I rewatched Jeremy Stephens against Yair Rodriguez. And Yair did exactly the same, you know, just targeted that body over and over again. And when you're blocking the body, that's when you leave yourself open to the shots up top with the hands. And Yair did exactly that. And it was but it was a sub in the end, of course. But, you know, the strikes are what led to the demise, of course. But yeah, phenomenal performance nonetheless. It's pretty much clear what's next for Rodriguez. It is going to be Volkanovski. We'll get to that ranking now. No movements after this, of course, because Yair is in at number 2. Volkanovski, at this stage, it's easy to believe that Volk will or can overcome anything. You know, we saw him overcome a lot of the grappling exchanges against Islam. Every time we see him in the octagon, there's always something that he's able to get out of. And his grit and determination is second to none. It's one of the best we've seen. But Rodriguez's lethal body kicks play a big part in this fight. You know, it's a different attribute that, of course, he didn't have to face before against the likes of Max Holloway. Matt Holloway? Who's Matt Holloway? But, you know, it's a target that's always going to be there. The ultimate question is, can Volk catch them and put Yair down? Because I think he's going to be looking to do that. He's got to do that in this fight. Because if he does that, then Yair will probably be hesitant to throw them. He will then rely on his hands, probably his hand speed to get the job done against Volk. Volk's going to be throwing heavier shots than Yair, potentially make Yair freeze up with his feints. And I can really see Volk just kind of, doing damage on Yair. He could very well put him away on the feet. On the other hand, if it does get to the ground, does Yair pose a threat on the ground? I guess that's what the ultimate question is as well, coming into that potential fight. Does he have the ability to finish Volk on the ground? You know, we didn't see it. We didn't see Islam do it. But does Yair attack something off his back and potentially catch Volk? I don't know. Like we said, Volk's got that grit and determination to fight out those positions, so who knows? Ortega versus Emmett, says Ash. You know what? That's one that I didn't think of. But yeah, makes a lot of sense. But I also think that Ortega's probably due a fight. I think I said before, I wouldn't mind seeing Ilia Topuria against Brian Ortega. I think that's the jump, and that's the fight that probably the UFC will want to make. I really do. Jake says, Volk should be given a new contract after this fight. He's the new star of the UFC, will draw more eyeballs for pay-per-view. Yeah, you could be right, my man. That's a good shout, because I think a lot of people are going to be siding with Volk after this win. I think Volk probably gained a lot more fans. Later on in just a sec, we're going to be talking about what's next for Volk. Where do we see him fighting next? Is it going to be Perth, Australia again? Or could it be somewhere else? Okay, so we'll get into that in just a sec. TY says, Emmett versus Yusuf. Not sure if Yusuf is booked. No, he's not. Sadiq Yusuf, he's a good friend of our channel, of course. I think it's a good one. Yes, thanks for joining in, guys. Don't forget to hit the like on the button. Hit that like button. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, of course, as well. This is the channel where fan opinions matter most, and we've got some cracking opinions so far today. To be honest, like I said just a second ago, Sadiq's a good friend of our channel. We speak to him quite a bit. He appears in our watch-alongs. He's got something up with his back at the moment. I don't know when he's going to be medically cleared. Maybe Ash might be able to find some info, or maybe, who knows? Sadiq might join us on the next watch along. He said we could have got Sadiq last night, but he was busy with his family, I'm afraid. So maybe we'll get him on the next one. Maybe we'll quiz him and see whereabouts his health's at. But I like Emmett versus Sadiq. That's a good fight to make. There you go. Ash says he's on it already. There you go. Bit of a jump for Sadiq, of course. He's just come off of a win against an unranked guy. That's the only thing in that. And he was trying to get that Bryce Mitchell fight, but Bryce Mitchell's now paired up. So, I wouldn't mind seeing Yusuf versus Mosov Evelev, to be honest. I think that could be made. Or he could fight... No, probably not. Maybe not Edson Barbosa. Ige's coming off of a win, isn't he? We could see that. We could see Dan Ige versus Sadiq Yusuf. I think the UFC would probably want to make that fight most, I reckon. That's it. Ige's coming off against Damon Jackson. So I think Ige versus Sadiq makes most sense there. But some cracking matchup ideas. I like all of them. Mosfar versus Ilya, says Thomas Shirion. Oh, man. Thank you. That's a good fight. Yeah, thanks for your comment, my man. Don't forget to hit a like on the video. That's another potential option as well, because technically Topuria needs to defend his ranking. There's that option as well. I mean, I'm just getting excited with Topuria because he's on an absolute murder fest at the moment. I want to see him fight upwards, but you've made a good point there. Yeah, I think that would be a good matchup for him. Solid stuff. So that's obviously, we know what's happening with Yair Rodriguez. My options for Josh Emmett, I had written down, were actually Chen Sun-jung. But, and it's a big but. They have trained together before at Team Alpha Male. The ultimate question is, what's their relationship like? Because they're literally, Emmett's 5, Chen Sun-jung's number 6. Would they take that fight? It's possible, Maybe Jung might be inclined to take a fight like that, but then at the same time, who knows? They could Jung anyone. I think he may have been injured anyways. My other option for Josh Emmett would be Arnold Allen if he was to lose against Max Holloway. But he's not going to lose against Max Holloway, is he? He's going to beat Max and be the next in line, and that's my opinion. Thanks, says Thomas. Yes, thank you for your comment, as always, my man. Again, everyone welcome in, says thanks channel administrator at the moment. Indeed, hit that subscribe button, guys. The subs have been coming this weekend. Thanks for your support. And we're here all the time. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell on the channel as well, because these videos are coming thick and fast. We do Q&As with fighters as well, so we give you guys the opportunity to ask fighters questions, because that's what we're all about over here. We're a fan channel, and you guys come first in everything that we do. We've got some exciting stuff coming. I can't wait for the UFC London 286, because we're going to bring a lot of fan content. We're going to be speaking to people outside the O2 Arena. We're going to be getting their opinions on various topics. So, make sure you stick around and obviously keep an eye out for those videos, of course. Let's go. Alan says James MMA as well. So Team Arnold Allen are in the house as well there. Lovely stuff. Okay, so we should probably get back then to that main event, of course, and give this sum this up a little bit. Look, I haven't had the chance to rewatch the fight. Volk watched it back and he reckons he won rounds 2, 3, and 5. You could have made that case, or was it? Yeah, 2, 3, and 5. That second one was up in the air. I would have given him 3, but one judge gave 4 rounds to Islam, which is pretty interesting, because at the time I thought they may have given a 10-8 to Islam. But look, who knows, man? Honestly, who knows? Thomas says, Volk make a statement for all strikers. Yeah, in the division, in the lightweight division. Yeah, I can see that. What time? Welcome in, Louis. He says, what time is it over then, mate? Over here, it's coming up to 10 to 3 p.m. here. Usually these shows are done on a Tuesday, like I said earlier, when the rankings are done, but I've got to get a plane a little bit later, so it's a bit of a rush around for me. Decided to still do this show for you guys and get your guys' opinions, because, of course, that's important. Thanks for your comment, my man. Personally, I had it was very nervy going into that 5th round. I thought it was potentially 2 apiece, and Volk could have stolen that 3rd round. But like I said, I need to really go back to rewatch that 2nd round and see where you judge it, because, I think that Islam done enough in round 1 to even out the striking advantages and then get scored for effective grappling. So that's why I gave round 1 to Islam. Round 5 was clear as day as Volk. That's obvious. There was a potential knockdown there. However, after seeing it back on the replay, it's kind of hard to tell whether it was a knockdown or not, because Volk lands on Islam, but at the same time, it's the initial reaction of Islam to shoot him for a takedown. And it did look like he was a bit wobbly while shooting for that takedown. So in a way, it looked like it was potentially a flash knockdown. Hard to tell. But yeah, those other rounds were very, very, very dicey. You could have given round 4 to Islam. Like I said, 2 was up in the air, man. I honestly don't know. But who knows? Who knows? We'll I'd like to see it get run back down the line. I would. I'm all for it. Volk in his post-fight press conference said that he heard someone had told him that Islam went back to his corner and was asking for a rematch straight away because he believed that he lost the fight. Whether or not it's true or not, Islam did later on come into the press conference and cleared it up and said that he didn't say that. So whether or not he's hiding it, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe something got missed in translation. I don't know. But Volk said he wanted to run it back straight away. I don't think we see it straight away. I don't. I think the UFC will want to move both divisions along and not hold them up too much, in my opinion. I mean, you like, yeah. James says it was so close. Yeah, man, it's hard to tell. Welcome in, UC2415. Welcome in, buddy. Hit the subscribe button if you've not done so already, and hit a like on the video. Solid opinion there. Was 3-1 going into the fifth. Yeah, okay. Who did you have it to? James says, yeah, same JK. Was going to say, definitely run it back one day. Yeah, they're going to. I think Volk's so determined to get that lightweight belt. But here's the thing with Volk now. He's got to not get complacent at featherweight. Because if he does get complacent now, the fact that he's gone 5 rounds with the champion in the weight class above, and then underestimate these guys coming up at 145, there's still a job to be done here. Because if he gets too confident, say going in against Yair and Yair steals his belt, I guess Volk could still make the case for the rematch, but he would have to come out and say, look, I'm done at 145. I'm going to stick to 155 now. Because if he does that, I think he'd still warrant a title shot at 155, even though he loses the belt. Of course, the fight is probably not going to be as hyped because both guys won't have belts. But I think the UFC would still want to kind of give it to him in a way. I really do. But who knows? UC says, as brilliant as Volk was, Islam won on the ground and striking, let's be honest. Look, like I said during our watch-along, I said, I think that, and they even said it in post-fight press conference, they felt that Volk came out and said that he underestimated the striking of Islam, and Islam underestimated Volk's wrestling ability. So in a way, that enough is enough to make you want to see a second fight, because we could see something completely different. We really could. Volk is pound for pound, though, as he made it very competitive. So a lot of people still reckon that Volk is the pound for pound number 1 guy. Interesting. I like your thoughts on this. Angus says, Volkanovski is the true 155 champion. Can't see them running it back straight away. No, absolutely. So UC says 3-1 Islam going into the fifth. Okay. Interesting opinions. Volkanovski actually joked about cutting to bantamweight. Yeah, I can't see that. Don't do that. I would love to see him fight Aljamain Sterling at 145, but I don't want to see Volk make that cut. I think it's too risky. I think, no, I don't want to see it. Angus also says, if he can make the cut, I'd love to see it. I think it was nothing more than a joke, though. Yeah. Probably. I mean, he's a jokey guy. He's going to throw things out there for sure. MMA was the winner of the day, says Jake. Yeah, for sure. Just hope they keep making good fights. Yeah, man, this year is so fire. Come on, guys. We've got John Jones returning. We've got Conor McGregor returning. We're going to have Triple C returning. It's going to get so interesting. There's going to be more fights, more insane fights. And we're going to move away from the Apex as well. So, look, 2023 is going to be the year for sure. Ash says, yes, Jake, love that, my friend, indeed. Yeah. So, of course, nothing's going to change in the rankings in the lightweight division, but we got to talk about what's next for Islam, okay? Because if they're not going to make this fight straight away, and now someone earlier on in the chat did question my pick about Dustin Poirier, because it does say in the title, Dustin Poirier or Beneil Dariush next. And I'm going to find that chat. See if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. So Finders Keepers said Poirier ? He already got 2 shots, should not be talked about for a title unless he puts 3 wins together, especially as he didn't want the Beneil fight. And look, once upon a time, you could make that case. The UFC were telling John Fitch in the welterweight division years ago, you need to get 3 wins. We want to see 3 wins, and then you get another shot at the champion. But I think the UFC have moved on from that. If you're a needle mover, if you are popular and people want to see you fight, they're willing to put you in at title fights. They put Masvidal back in there against Usman. They put Colby back in there against Usman. So, of course, I think they would do the same for Poirier. Absolutely. But here's the thing that's got to happen if Poirier is going to get in there. Now, when we look at the rankings, of course, got Poirier in at number 2. Oliveira is just above him. We're not going to see those 2 fight again anytime soon. We're not going to see it. 2 spots below him, we've got Beneil Dariush, has a strong case to be the next guy in line for the championship belt. And I'm all for it. But he's got to get past Charles Oliveira. And I think that fight's going to get made. I'll get into my prediction in just a sec for that fight because, yeah, like I said, if Dariush wins, look, you're the number 1 guy. You're next for Islam. There's no question. There's no denying that. But if Oliveira gets the win against Dariush, then what happens? You can't put Oliveira against Islam again, surely, when Islam defeated him in the second round or whatever it was. Let's be honest. You know? You can't. So who else in that list is there for? It's Dustin Poirier who's next in line. So if you're Dustin Poirier, I think he's smartly sitting out, you know, to find out what happens and get that other shot. Do I really want to see Poirier against Makhachev? In a way, I kind of do. You could say, oh, but we already saw Poirier versus Makhachev because Poirier lost to Khabib. Khabib's wrestling was the point in that fight, right? Khabib is very wrestling heavy. He's not much of a striker. Makhachev is more of a striker than Khabib is, technically. And we saw that against Volkanovski, right? So is Islam going to keep it on the feet against Poirier? More so. And does Poirier have more power than Volkanovski? Has Poirier got the capabilities of knocking Islam out? That's the ultimate question. That's the fight seller right there. It's possible. It's very possible. Louis HE says, who are you, Aussie guru? Mate, I think if you were referring to... No, I'm the British guru. We're the British guru. All the gurus. All 3 of us have run this channel. Other channels, mate, they don't care about you guys. Putting it out there. They don't care about you guys. We care more so about you guys. Why? Because we're a fan channel. And we listen to your fan opinions and we talk about them. That's what it's all about. Yes, Breezy! Breezy's in the house. It's Dariush versus Oliveira for next challenger. But no, I think it's just for Dariush, my opinion. I've got a feeling that Dariush is going to beat Oliveira. I do. I've got a horrible feeling about it. I think Oliveira is gonna have 2 straight losses, I'm afraid. Dariush, I think, is going to cause some problems. I think it's going to be fairly even on the ground. But is the pressure of Dariush getting it to the ground? Is Dariush going to try and get it to the ground? That's the ultimate question. I think striking-wise, Oliveira can piece up Dariush. I can see that. I can really see that. And I'd imagine Oliveira is obviously going to be favourite in that fight. I don't know. I've just had this real gut feeling that Dariush is going to do it. He could sub him. I think maybe perhaps Oliveira underestimates Dariush's striking, gets clipped again like he did against Makhachev, and maybe gets submitted. You know, because Dariush is on a bit of a tear. He's a beast at the moment. It could happen. I don't know. For some reason, that's all I'm saying on that matter, because that's the gut feeling that I've got. Jake says, I see them putting Islam against Gaethje if he wins. There's another option as well. Khabib would push for that due to the respect between the fighters. They also haven't fought yet. Yeah, but then, of course, you know, what do you do with Poirier? You know? Look, I'm team Fiziev on this, to be honest. I actually want Fiziev to beat Gaethje, because, again, that's another good challenger we've never seen have a crack at a title fight in recent years. So I really want to see that. But, yeah, if Gaethje does win, then, I mean, you could do... Okay, if Gaethje wins and Dariush beats Oliveira, you do Dariush versus Islam for the belt, and then you do Gaethje versus Poirier rematch. That's what I would do. That's what I would do, personally. Yeah, but if Oliveira wins, he's in this limbo at the moment because he's fought a lot of the guys, you know. But yeah, Islam would be Poirier or Dariush, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to take us back to the solo stream. I'm going to do this properly now, not in the stream. So yeah, we're going to talk about then what's next, of course, for Volkanovski. in terms of where is he going to fight next? Because after the success of Perth, and when you see the impacts of UFC London with Tom Aspinall, Paddy Pimblett, people fighting in their home territory, it really, amps things up. And I think the UFC at the moment are in this position where they need to go to different countries. They need to continue to build the sport in other countries and, put on events. And in order to do that, they need their homegrown guys to headline those cards and appear on those cards. And I think going into 2023 with the climate of the MMA, where MMA is at the moment, with the PFL making movements, making big signings and going to Europe and getting themselves out there, and of course Bellator continuing to do the thing as well, the UFC need to step up and really, continue to be the driving force in MMA as an organization. And in order to do that, like I said, they need their homegrown guys. So there, in the post-fight press conference, there was talks of bringing Volkanovski back to Perth, and they're all for that. They could very well do that. Of course, Rodríguez is next in line. Now, Rodríguez, is the interim champion. He's from Mexico. The UFC are opening up a gym, the Performance Institute in Mexico later on this year. Why would you not do a pay-per-view, in Mexico City? Volkanovski versus Rodríguez for the unification bout. Brandon Moreno versus Alejandro Pantoja, co-main event. That's the seller right there. That's what you need to do. Now, of course, you're taking a lot of risks there in doing that, of course, because Volk is your number one guy in Australia, so you want him to maybe perhaps headline Australian cards. However, at the moment, who's got more kind of, should I say, bigger names? Australia or Mexico at the moment, active-wise? It's Australia, right? They could easily go back to Australia and do a fight night, which I imagine they will, and Taito Ivasa headline that card, Israel Adesanya could headline that card, because New Zealand's only down the road. Robert Whittaker could maybe headline a card. They've got names that they can throw out there. So Mexico City, I think, they're going to want to build up more of their homegrown guys. Like Angus is saying here, Raul Rojas Jr., look, man, that guy's making waves. He's only had one fight in the UFC. So he'd be on the main card. Why wouldn't you? Build him up to the Mexican fans. Makes a lot of sense. I think Mexico City, for that featherweight bout, makes more sense for the UFC in a strategic move. Louis says, Volk, go back to 145, and there is another monster waiting. Yes, indeed. Yes, Yair is in the wings, of course, and it depends on that outcome of Arnold Allen and Max Holloway, of course. Breezy says, I generally feel sorry for the division when Volk is back. Well, I don't know. Arnold Allen's going to be a really good test for him, I reckon, if Arnold Allen gets past Max Holloway, because if he gets past Max, then look, there's no denying Arnold Allen. He's the problem in the division. So yeah, I'd like to make that sense. Yeah, but that's my little sort of way of ending this show, in a way, of just leave you with something. Do you think it should be Mexico City for that next featherweight bout, or should it be back to Perth, Australia? But yeah, I'm going with that, I'm afraid. Rodríguez's chances against Volkanovski, I don't know if I touched upon it a little bit. I did mention the body kicks being a problem for Volk, but I think Volk catches them and takes them down off of them and grinds out a decision win, really. And, it'd be quite horrible for the homegrown crowd, I guess, if Rodríguez was to pick up that win, really. I know, but, if you're Rodríguez, you've got to make it happen, haven't you? You still got to make that happen. All right, cool. Amazing stuff in the chat, guys. This has been a phenomenal Aftermath show. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button on the video. And, of course, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel Fan opinions matter most over here. Yes, Jake says, just no London shows. Horrible timings for the Aussies. Yeah, I'm afraid it is. It is a little bit. Yeah, I mean, more London shows, the better. I hope there's more later come this year. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, I've got a plane to catch now. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hit the notifications bell on our channel. Make sure you tune in to the next watch along, which is going to be Jessica Andrade against Erin Blanchfield. That's going to happen on the weekend. So make sure you're up to date of when the watch along is going to be coming your way. It'll be for the main card, of course, as always. In terms of content-wise, exactly, you never know what could happen this week. You never know what could happen. That's the reason why you got to hit that notifications bell, of course. Thanks for tuning in, as always, guys. Stay classy, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.